Long and rocky. We talked about that on election night, I think, and it just wouldn't be appropriate to not follow that story without our political analyst, John Dadian. He joins us, and of course, he joined us on election night. Before we start anything, happy Veterans Day to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And Marine Corps birthday yesterday, too,
big
right?
Birthday,
so
237 young.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, we appreciate having you here today. You're spending some time with us. And to talk a little bit about this fiscal cliff, let's talk about that first. I don't want to spend too much time on that. We all know what we're up against. I want to talk a little bit more about the future of the Republican Party after the election.
Sure.
But this fiscal cliff, we know what everybody's up against. Politically speaking, though, I mean, is anyone really going to budge? Let's be honest. We all know we need to budge, but, I mean, we've seen what both sides, they stick to their grounds when it comes to this type of stuff.
To use Ronald Reagan's line, I'm cautiously optimistic. In the first 12 hours after election night, I heard some very agreeable statements from both sides, from the president's administration and from the speaker and from the House of Representatives, looking like they were going to, you know, say we need to work this out. But now it seems like they're digging, in the last 12 hours, they're digging their heels in. So I think it's going to come right down the wire, but I really am cautiously optimistic. I just don't see it happening.
You know, when it comes down to the wire, though, John, I have to be honest with you, for middle-class folks, it doesn't feel good, because it doesn't feel like your leaders are really fighting for you or doing what anyone campaigned on.
I think one thing a lot of these people, even as young as Obama have institutional knowledge, and they remember in the mid-90s how Newt Gingrich tried to push and, you know, and tried to bluff, and it backfired on him, and it looked well for the Clinton administration. I think that's very cognizant on both minds.
Is who's the leader of the Republican Party right now, and is the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party a liability for that party?
Well, I think one thing I've noticed today in your earlier broadcast is your sound man has really been on it with all his different sounds he's been playing. The crash sound that he sounded when you were talking about your skiing, I think he should have played right now when we talked about the Republican Party. Clearly it's in disarray. Clearly they have to regroup and do a very careful analysis. How do they address the women's issue? How do they address the minority issues? And that's clearly very important. Now, to answer your question about who's the leader, here's the good news and the bad news. I see, if you look at who we had in the Republican primary, it was a very large field, but it really wasn't our A players. I think you have a great farm team going into the next 4 years as far as on the presidential level. You got Bobby Jindal of Louisiana. I'm not a big fan, but a lot of people are looking towards Chris Christie of New Jersey, and there's probably about a dozen others that are A-level. So I think the leader of the Republican Party right now, a lot of jockeying is going to be going on within the next 12 months.
What happens for Mitt Romney now? What does he do? What do you think politically he's going to do?
Even though he's speaking on Veterans Day, even though he never served in the Army, I think he's going to take Douglas MacArthur's advice and just kind of fade away. Clearly, this was his last hurrah. I just don't see him, staying the leader and running for the nomination again. But I got to tell you that he still has a lot of supporters, so I do see him being an influence 4 years from now, and all these potential candidates will be courting his endorsement.
Well, the exciting thing is he's been quoted as saying he's going to come to La Jolla, and he's going to be living in La Jolla. So maybe we'll see Mitt around, maybe waxing down his surfboard, having a good time.
He has 2 sons that live here. He likes it here, and he's said that unabashedly.
Let's talk locally now. Bob Filner, obviously the new mayor of San Diego. Your thoughts on that race, and what are going to be Bob's first moves? I mean, what happens now?
Well, again, quickly I'll mention that Carl DeMaio, I thought, made a very gracious concession speech, and Bob has reciprocated by saying that he agrees that you have to reach across the aisle, that he's willing to work. So we're looking for, hopefully, a new spirit of cooperation. You can't talk about Bob Filner becoming the new mayor without noticing that with the council increasing to 9 seats, there's a Democratic majority.
I was going to say, and we talked about this with Darren Pudgell, who's the spokesperson for Mayor Jerry Sanders right now, and he talked about how influential it's going to be to, or that council and specifically, and the council president, too, having a lot of power right now. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Well, and again, the insider politics stuff that people like me live in is that Tony Young will probably remain the president of the council, whereas if it would have been a Republican majority, that probably would have changed. And all of that, it matters. The president of the council has a lot of power. Tony Young, by the way, has been a very good president, again, working with the other side of the aisle.
Right.
The thing that I like most about Bob Filner is that he was talking about how he's going to be a community-driven mayor. If that continues, if he can continue to be in the community and keep that mindset throughout, I think we'll be well served by that.
completely agree. And I notice, I think that this is overlooked in the media, one of his I shouldn't say little proposals, one of his proposals is that he's going to hold meetings downtown City Hall, but on the weekends, maybe once or twice a month.
We'll take him live.
Well, he told me he was going to hold them in Sandiego6's studio.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'll let you guys negotiate that, but I do think that's a marked difference from previous mayors, and I do think that is, you know, putting up and shutting up. I do think that's him saying this is concrete steps that we're taking. It's not just the campaign talk. That's what people are looking for, both on national level and the local level. Is it just campaign talk, or are they going to put up?
Yeah.
We'll see with Bob
Isn't that
in the
what
next
we
6
all
months.
want to know, right? All right, John, thank you so much. Again, happy Veterans Day.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you, John.